That's some energy.
God of my want, Lord of my need, leading me on. God of my day, Lord of my nights, seek for the way, taking me home. Calling me home, bring home my name. God of my wants, God of my needs. How big is your God? Take a breath. How big is your God? We're here today, I'm here today to ask you to make your God bigger. Because we need a really big God right now. Really big God. Neil Diamond, his interpretation, inspired by African music. One definition of it it signifies a return to roots, to unity of all people, and a sacred, cyclical trust in life. A variant, Suleiman. A variant of the Arabic Salama and the Hebrew Shalom. Suleiman. What if that word with the heart of Neil Diamond in writing that song was our mantra right now? How big is your God? There's a parable developed by a tale told by John Wisdom in his haunting and revelatory article, Gods, Once Upon a Time. Once upon a time, two explorers came upon a clearing in the jungle. In the clearing were growing many flowers and many weeds. One explorer says, some gardener must tend this plot. The other disagrees. There is no gardener. So they pitched their tents and they set a watch. No gardener is ever seen, but perhaps the gardener is invisible. So they set up a barbed wire fence. They electrify it. They patrol it with bloodhounds. But no shrieks ever suggest that some intruder has received a shock. No movements of the wire ever betray the invisible climber. The bloodhounds never give a cry. Yet still the believer is not convinced. There is a gardener, invisible, intangible, insensible to electric shocks, a gardener who has no scent and makes no sound, a gardener who comes secretly to look after the garden that they love. At last the skeptic despairs, but what remains of our original assertion? Just how does what you call an invisible, intangible, eternally elusive gardener do such amazing, wonderful things, growing both beautiful flowers and weeds in the same garden? The unseen reality of a divine source. In Unity, we talk all the time. I have no idea what I have up here. In Unity, we talk all the time. Our main tenet, Unity is not a spiritual teaching of dogma, but we do have our 5 basic principles. One presence, one power. God the good. And yet, what do we see happening on planet Earth right now? much of it does not look like good. Much of it looks very evil. The God of absolute reality, the good of absolute reality, the divine source, the divine creation, that we really don't even have a prayer of knowing how that is or how it works. No matter how much you understand of quantum physics, no matter how spiritual you may be, even those that have had near-death experiences that come back and know with absolute clarity that there is a beautiful light in all things. Even with that proof, we still don't really know, do we? I'll tell you how I know that there is a divine source, that there is, whatever word you want to put to the word God. You cannot name God, you cannot define God, but I know in those moments of stillness and clarity where my heart rejoices and I have a feeling of profound love and care and compassion. When I see something of beauty, then I know. For me, it's that still small voice. You get to decide on your terms. I don't stand up here telling you what you should believe or how you should believe it or how you should even get to whatever it is that you believe. My greatest hope of standing here in front of you is to inspire you, to find that place within you, to find your God, to find your truth, to find your love. For we do need. We need it at this time. In Unity, we call that one presence, that one power is substance. That thing that is behind all seen things. Divine substance. You know, does that sound kind of like, yeah, okay? But hey, right? I always tell you I don't know what God is, but I know God is. And I bet anything, because you're sitting in this room, that you feel the same way, in some way, in your own words, in your own way. And yet we see so much evil happening in the world. In Unity, we teach that there is only the appearance of evil. If there is only one presence and one power, and that is God the good, then how can there be evil? In the absolute, capital R, reality, at the core of my being, I believe that there is no evil. However, we live in a 3D world with human beings that have free will. And we each get to walk our walk, choosing how we go through life and whether we are causing harm or we are causing love. Right? In the human reality, evil things happen. From our Revealing Word, the book that was written with Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore, the metaphysical meaning of evil, that which is not of God, unreality, error thought, a product of the fallen human consciousness. He goes on to say that evil is a parasite. It has no permanent life of itself. Its whole existence depends on the life it borrows from its parent. And when its connection with the parent is severed, nothing remains. In divine mind, which is in Unity, another word for God, in divine mind, there is no recognition of evil conditions. So I could go on with that, but I think that makes the point. In absolute reality and absolute principle, there is only love and order. It is when it gets translated down into human beings that we have a problem. This is a statement from Unity. Unity remains steadfast in cultivating communities where all people feel safe, valued, and supported. Earlier this week, I was absolutely, I'm going to use the word outraged. Outrage can be a holy word. It doesn't mean that I don't have faith in God. It doesn't mean that I'm not sitting here all day going, oh, you know I don't put spiritual band-aids over things. You can be outraged and still be holy. You can be outraged and still be in principle. But you want to make sure that that outrage that you may be feeling, that you hold it in a right way so that it is not being that parasitic evil that is harming you from the inside out. You can be in holy outrage without hurting yourself. If during these times you may have people say, well, don't worry about it, you can't do anything about it. Oh. Words in my head. What some people may consider worry could actually be you just deeply caring, having concern. So don't let people judge you for how you're feeling. Again, don't let anybody use any metaphysical malpractice on you to take away your feelings. But I do ask you to discern how your concern and your outrage, your worry, even your fear is affecting your being. Because we are in a time where we need all the light that we can muster, where we can have all the love that we can to shine down upon our world. So what made me feel so outraged the other day? Well, it was the state of Kansas. This is from the United Methodist Alliance for Transgender Inclusion. The state of Kansas has enacted one of the most sweeping rollbacks of transgender rights in the nation, placing thousands of God's trans children in immediate harm. The Kansas legislature has immediately invalidated existing driver's licenses and birth certificates held by transgender residents. These documents are now being forcibly replaced with versions that erase the person's true gender identity. No warning. First of all, the transgender Kansans are receiving letters instructing them to surrender their IDs or face penalties. No grace period, no recognition of the dignity of the peoples whose daily lives depend on accurate identification. This action is not administrative, it is not neutral. The governor said no, and the legislature did it anyway. It is a direct attempt to eliminate transgender people from civic and legal life. I was outraged, and I still am. An attempt to erase people. Unity remains steadfast in cultivating communities where all people feel safe, valued, and supported. How big is your God? We are being called upon to be the light. We are being called. My response to people that said, when I called to check on my family member who is in the military overseas right now. And I know the comment was coming from love, but you guys know how I roll. Well, don't worry, you can't do anything about it. And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't believe that. And how big is my God? Because we do have the ability and the choice and the power within us to expand our light and to expand our love. And remember, we're a tag team. We don't have to carry it all the time, all by ourselves. We take time and share it. Remember, the nervous system does not know the difference between an actual threat and a perceived one. So take care of your being. Take care of your being. Because I am going to say, and some people may not agree or approve, but we are being attacked. And we get to make the choice of being the light, of being the love. So Kelly shared with me a dream that she had on Thursday. Yeah.
Okay, so Thursday morning early. I was shown a rooftop battle scene that at the time all I could see was Iraq, Afghanistan, that very Middle Eastern type rooftop battle scene with, I assumed, our troops in a gunfight, in a gun battle, very fierce as they are. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I came from behind them, and I was carrying ammunition. I'm going to put that in quotes. But I was walking by, and I carried ammunition. They were like, "Where'd you come from?" And I was like, "Don't worry about it." And I just, I put it down, and I started to walk away, and I'm going, "Wait a minute, never mind." And I just put my arms up and took a deep breath and went, whew, and put this invisible cloak of protection between them and whoever or whatever they were fighting. And so their strikes couldn't hit us, etc. And I stood there for a minute, and they were all like, "What?" And I was like, "Go, just go now." And they looked at me and are like, "We can't." I'm like, "Yes, you can. There is a vehicle waiting outside, out back. Go now." And I kind of, just like looked over my shoulder at the commander, and he's like, "Let's get out of here." And they all took off, and they went down to the vehicle. I said, "And when you get there, go north." And they went and took off, and as soon as they started to leave, I was literally jolted out of sleep. And I'm going, what was that? But that was the dream.
In your interpretation, without having time to process it?
Well, my interpretation at the time was there was going to be some kind of a war scene, and how do I say this? What is my job to provide protection, and to whom, and how? Because it's like when it's a dream at 4:30 in the morning, it's always personal. But how do I extend that protective cloak, that barrier, to who, us, whoever is fighting whatever they're fighting? How do I do that? So that is where I'm at right now with it. So
Thank you, Kelly. And as you told me that dream this morning, one of the things that struck me, because you said the vehicle piece was, you noticed was very significant for you, that there is a vehicle. And to get in the vehicle and to go north. North just naturally makes us think of higher, right? We go higher. To get into the vehicle, to get into your place of spiritual understanding, your place of knowing what your God is, what your work is to do, and to take it up higher. And how significant to have that kind of a dream the day before. Before we start bombing Iran. I don't even want to use the word we. I just.
there is conflict.
I saw someone say that if Iran had struck American soil, we would call it an act of terrorism. But we're calling our attack a preemptive strike. How big is your God? We are being called higher and higher. God of my wants, God of my needs. Solomon. Spirit is not separate from the body. When we calm the body, the soul can speak. It's important in these times to find your place. Whatever that may be. Not to put any pressure on anybody. But we are not here by accident at this time on planet Earth. Be here in a couple of hours and watch, be a participant in Ken McMillan's Black Heaven. It's powerful and it's meaningful and it's important work. Dialogue of Black authors and playwrights and historians sharing the Black experience. There is only one presence and one power. We call it God the Good, and in absolute reality, I do believe that is true, and that is what we get to hold on to. That is what we get to choose to hold on to. And then we get to take a breath, do our inner work. And how is our egoic human self rising to that occasion to be the brightest light that we know how to do? Because that we do have control over. We absolutely have control over that. One presence, one power. And so it is.